Out of complete nowhere, Donald Trump tweeted out this: after consultation with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government will not accept or allow ... transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the US military. Our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming ... third tweet, victory, and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical costs and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. Thank you. So what does this mean? It means that he has over Twitter announced a new initiative that says he's going to peel back deregulation from Obama, which in 2016 said that it was okay for trans people to serve in the military. This is out of really nowhere. There was no speculation that anything like this could happen. There have been articles that have come out that have tried to explain it, but we're gonna get our thoughts, 5 words or less, and then discuss more.
Thank you, fuck you.
This sucks big hairy balls.
What a dick vagina. That's what Trump is, he's being a penis vagina. He's just, I don't know what that means, but he's the worst.
The worst.
It's just such a weird thing. So you first heard this, saw this. What went through your mind first?
Oh, this is, I mean, that there's really no basis for it. In fact, I know that they're talking about the cost and that how it would be a huge expenditure for the military budget. Indeed, it would be what they have right now allocated for the medical care of transgender service members is less than a percentile, and we actually spend 10 times that on erectile dysfunction medication for service members. So I knew that, like, the cost is negligible. Then, of course, what I like to do whenever it comes to like LGBT stuff that goes on, I like to hear the other side. What are people talking about? Because I don't know, I just like to, because for me, it's such a clear issue. It's so clearly discriminatory. I need to hear people that don't see it that way. Some people were pointing out that right now the American Psychiatric Association does qualify gender dysphoria as a psychiatric disorder, as a mental disorder. What I would like to remind people of is that being gay was also qualified as a mental disorder until like 1980, 1970, something like that. And then also, this is from The Atlantic about that. These people were saying like, oh, the military is so high stress. You don't want people that are struggling with a mental illness. I mean, that is perpetuating such an awful stigma against trans people. This is from The Atlantic that takes on that. It says, the diseases that do seem to disproportionately afflict transgender people are mental health issues. The pathology behind this is attributed to societal marginalization of exactly the sort that Trump's language propagated today, portraying transgender people as a burden to the mission with a focus on medical costs as an apparent euphemism for gender reassignment surgeries. Trump's ruling will leave many talented Americans ineligible for service. Others will opt to serve and deny their own gender identities, an unhealthy situation that will likely carry its own medical costs. A good example of that is Kristen Beck, who entered like the military, became a member of SEAL Team 6 as Christopher Beck, and then came out after the fact and is now a huge advocate for trans people, just saying we deserve this happiness. We deserve to be able to serve.
Yeah.
And protect this country and the liberties that the individual liberties that this country was founded on.
Right.
Just if you hear that there is any sort of basis for that being trans is a mental disorder, I need you to go to bat for our trans brothers and sisters, our trans, the trans community right now needs us to be like, that's bullshit. And you need to shoot down a lot of these weird factoids that you're gonna see thrown about for people that will defend an utterly discriminatory policy.
Well, there's terminology that people are using which doesn't mean anything one way or another. It's the essence of what we're going for. So part of this is like, listen, we discriminate against who can be in the military based on size, based on weight, based on whether they can see well, their blindness, color blindness has an effect as to whether you can shoot on. So they then make the jump to say that discrimination is something that is okay in the military, which is just not true. The case law behind discrimination has different tiers of discrimination that require different strengths of tests to see whether it's merited. And in the military, all those height, weight, vision discrimination policies are to see whether you are ready to fight, whether you are capable of being a good soldier. Whether you are trans or not has no bearing on whether you are a good soldier. How do I know this? Because if a trans person passes the physical readiness standards, they're okay to fight. That's why those readiness standards are in place. This ridiculous change is really out of nowhere.
And the tweet read like a memorandum you would get from like here, like, you know, hey, turn off the lights. It just was so just direct and very just like black and white. Also, what really frustrated me is that the underlying root of this new policy is money. Is this wall and a quiet argument on the Hill about, well, we're not going to fund this if you support this. That's what didn't make any sense to me.
Right. So here's what that is. There are different kinds of bills that pass all the time, and as there's more trouble, and if you talk about like a dysfunctional government, really the only thing that passes is budget laws, is spending bills, and there is a $790 billion spending bill that's on the table, and to get votes. According to a report by Politico and others, there were some votes that weren't going to pass this bill. And included in that bill were a bunch of things like the border wall, a lot of spending promises that Trump made. And then there's these other folks that are like, listen, I won't vote for that unless you give me something. And that me something from people like Vicky Hartzler, a representative, was they want this trans military funding thing. Now, why do they want that? Well, it's kind of an issue that certain conservative interest groups have flagged as like, this is important. And we are judging whether we're going to fund candidates based on if they do things, and one of them is called the Family Research Council, do things that are important to the Family Research Council. So the Family Research Council pulls people like Vicky Hartzler aside and says, listen, you need to get the needle moved on this trans thing. She says, okay, I'll do that when Trump needs that vote on the border wall and we'll all be happy. And according to Politico, someone just pulled Trump aside and was like, you need to say this in order to get your wall funded. And he was like, okay, and just went over and tweeted it essentially.
Which is so bizarre, Brett, about, you know, because people, of course there's Trump supporters. I mean, he's in office. I mean, we can't really, we are victims, but I get so bothered about all this because we the people, not us collectively sitting here in these chairs, but we the people put him in office. We opened Pandora's box. We are the people who are allowing him to do this. But Trump, back in, let's see, June of 2016 said, thank you, LGBT community. I will fight for you while Hillary brings in more people that will threaten your freedoms and your beliefs. And now because of money, he's like totally backtracking that. This goes to show what a douchebag he is. But yet we still have people that are like, he's our president and he's the best thing that's happened to America. Make America great again.
Look at that tweet. That tweet is about bringing people in who threaten your beliefs, and I'll protect the LGBT community. Instead, he's thrown the LGBT community under the bus in order to go after immigrants, essentially.
Right.
And there is like we're going anti-trans and anti-immigrant, which is itself like fundamentally racist and super messed up. And someone tweeted like The Onion had a headline that was like, advisors are concerned that Trump is burning through racial and minority scapegoats at an alarming, unsustainable rate.
Yeah, well, I think also, unfortunately, the T in LGBT is silent for some people. You think, you know, like Ivanka came out during Pride Month and said, I am an LGBT ally. And basically what I took away from that, given her silence and her being so complicit in this administration and how they have infringed on the rights of LGBT people, is that she likes having a gay best friend every now and again. She doesn't really care about trans people. She doesn't really care about every letter. She doesn't care about all of us. I don't know, it's just like it's a thing to prop us up. It's an accessory, exactly. Also, I think that unfortunately we are at this point right now. We're at the trans tipping point. I know that was the title of the Time magazine cover when they put Liver and Cox on, and that's really what it is that this administration feels like, all right, who can we other? Who do people still have these questions, this uncertainty about? Well, it's the trans community. We can't do that to the gay community anymore. Queer, like if you are bi, queer, like lesbian, gay, like too many people can put a face to that. Where you can be like, oh no, but I don't want Grace not to be allowed in the military because I know someone. There are too many people who can other trans people because they don't. I see all these videos that are being shared around on Facebook because again, I went to school in North Carolina and I lived in Kentucky for a year. So there are a lot of these red states. I will see people sharing these absurd and discriminatory and really prejudiced and hateful videos that I just see this ignorance, and there's no like reason. They don't look to try and learn a little bit more about something that they don't understand. Like, I don't understand it, so therefore bad, it's gross, it's a mental disorder. Learn about what you are, learn about this. Go and do some independent research before you come out there and say that that this policy is sound. It's not sound, and you're on the wrong side of history here. Again, it was gay people, we were seen as a mental disorder until.
So it still are to some people.
So some people, I'm sure in the comment section below, will still say that like we are mentally unwell. And so there's none of that.
Another tweet I saw that's like, it takes more bravery for a trans person to leave the house than it took for Trump to do anything he's ever done in his life. Here's just some other tweets that are going around. One is Vicky Hartzler, the person I mentioned earlier, says she's pleased to hear that Donald Trump shares my readiness and cost concerns and will be changing this costly and damaging policy. Here's the thing, costly is, it is not the reason this happened. It has nothing to do with money, but if it did have anything to do with money, who better deserves funding for whatever medical procedure they need than someone who is willing to lay their life down for the country? Like what? I mean, I tweeted yesterday, I'll buy you tits and 3 dicks if you fight for me. Like I don't care what you need, I'll buy it for you because this is such a great thing.
What was also laughable is when they were asked, how are you going to impose this ban? Like what is the plan you have made to make sure this goes through? They're like, we haven't worked all that out yet.
He didn't consult with the Pentagon before he tweeted this.
Mattis was on vacation. Anyways, all right, I think we've mentioned everything that kind of has to do with it. Extra information, this is Sandra Mitchell tweeted, I'm queer and I served under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was the previous policy that was like Bill Clinton instituted that said like when it comes to being gay or not, don't ask anybody, don't tell them if you're gay or not. She said, if you got caught, if someone reported you, which is even more traumatizing, like you didn't get a court date, you got a separation date. They gave you a general discharge instead of an honorable one, usually on a Section 8, mentally unfit for service. Like, this is a step in the wrong direction, and it is so transparent because of how it came out of nowhere, and that it's this bullshit, it costs too much when we spend more on Viagra, that this is just Trump throwing trans people under the bus to get funding for his border wall and to score points with people who really shouldn't have a say in running this country because they are spreading a message of hate. And they should, I guess they can have the say, but we need to be louder and outnumber them.